Hey, how's it going, guys? Ricky Summer here. I've played 150 hours of Warframe, and today I've come back in time to tell you what I think about it. But first, a message from our sponsor.
Tech Funk. Hack your hygiene.
Alright, so Warframe, it's an online looter-shooter action RPG. I'm sure you've all heard of it before, even if you haven't played it. If you want to check it out, you're interested in finding out more, I highly recommend you check out my Warframe in under 1 minute video. There'll be a card up at the top of the screen right there. Go click on that. It's very informative, only takes a minute. But listen, let's get down to brass tacks. So I lied a little bit. The video says I played 150 hours. I've played 175 hours, and those are in mission hours, not Steam hours. My Steam hours are actually a lot more because you spend a little bit of time in the menus and whatnot. And on top of that, I've reached Master Rank 11. I've got 15 frames in my arsenal, 21 if you include the gifted frames from the generous viewers. I have a railjack, and I've started doing railjack missions. I've fought some Eidolons. I've finished all the major quests, maxed out my first season of Nightwave, started work on killing my first Lich, started grinding for my first Necromech. I'm on my way to completing the star chart, and I've uploaded 36 Warframe videos to YouTube and done 22 Warframe streams on Twitch. I think I'm starting to get to the point where I can't call myself a new player anymore. So we're going to break this review up into 4 sections, what I perceive to be the most important aspects of the game: gameplay, progression, story, and community. Let's start with gameplay. Okay, so gameplay. Just word of warning, there's going to be spoilers in this video. I may talk about some story things or some things that you will unlock that you might not know about if you've just started playing Warframe, so be wary of that. But let's talk about gameplay. The gameplay is so important to the whole structure of Warframe and why it feels so good to play. And you might be going, Ricky Summer, of course, gameplay is one of the most, if not the most important thing in a video game. What are you talking about? Yeah. Okay, just hear me out, okay? So the gameplay is really simple, and that is a key component into why it feels so good and why it's so addictive. Now, that doesn't mean that the game is easy. All the hard work in Warframe, in my opinion, is in grinding up to get the specific items, the frames, the weapons, the mods you need, and then customizing your frames and weapons to do what you want them to do. So once you actually get into the mission, if you've done everything right, you've got the right equipment, and it's modded to your liking, then the actual gameplay is really not difficult. And even when things go wrong, I don't really feel like it's necessarily your fault from a moment-to-moment gameplay standpoint. If you just stand around and shoot things and not move, okay, fine, because the game's very much about mobility. Yeah, alright, but I feel like for the most part, all the hard work, all the effort goes into the pre-game before you've even gotten into a mission. So once you get into a mission, if the stars align and you've got the right equipment and you've got things modded correctly, then it's just a power fantasy, and it's fantastic. Yes, there are a couple of mechanics like bullet jumping and sliding, and once you get the operator, actually doing the operator dash, bullet jumping and then dashing and whatnot, is a little bit finicky at first, but once you get the hang of it, it's all very fluid. It bakes into your muscle memory real quick, and it's just so fluid and simple and fun to play, and I just can't get enough, because it's just one of those games that you can turn your brain off and you can just go flying through the level, casting abilities and shooting things and meleeing, which is on E, by the way. That's fantastic. Melee on V, I know that's a shooter thing, but no, that's stupid. Melee should be on E in every friggin' single shooting game ever. I love that. That's great. So I love the moment-to-moment gameplay because it's so simple and it's just dopamine on tap. It's great. Yes. Then there's the fact that there's always something to do. And I mean it. This game, it's old at this point. When did it come out? The 25th of March, 2013. That's an old game, It's got so much content, guys. Especially if you're coming into it now as a new player, it can be overwhelming. And my advice to you is just go from node to node in the star chart, and as soon as you come across something that you don't understand, go to the wiki. Google it. Don't get too bogged down with, I don't understand that, so I'm going to go into that and delve into this rabbit hole. Don't overwhelm yourself because there's so much in here. I mean, I've been making videos from the start of my new player experience with Warframe. I've been doing streams, I've been making videos. So as you can imagine, I got a lot of comments and a lot of people guiding me through the process. And even with all those teachers, it's still overwhelming. In fact, it might be more overwhelming because of that, because I've got all these voices going, hey, do this, do that, do this. You really should be doing that. Why haven't you done this yet? I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about, dude, to even do it yet. You know, if you're not making videos and you're not streaming it, I feel like you might be in a much better place to just go with the flow and run through the star chart as nature intended. And then as the more complex systems present themselves, you can teach yourself about it on the wiki or go check out some YouTube videos. There's plenty of information out there to help you understand what the hell is going on. But there's always something to do. There's Nightwave, which is basically your weekly missions and your kind of season pass thing that is actually free. There's sorties and there's the weekly Clem mission and there's story missions. There's gear grinding. There's Kuva liches. There's Orokin vaults, which I've just started doing, by the way. So I am getting corrupted mods. Don't even trip. And there's a million more things on top of that to do. I feel like if you're starting Warframe now, you're gonna have a long Warframe career ahead of you. Now, unfortunately, the fact that this is a very old game with a lot of content, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Yes, it means you've got a lot of variety and a lot of things to do from all those years of development. But on the other hand, it means that some of the older systems, some of the play styles with some of the frames have kind of fallen by the wayside. So things like stealth, I'm not saying stealth is completely null and void and useless. There's a time and place for stealth, and I've just started playing Loki myself, and even in regular missions, I'm kind of enjoying just being invisible and slashing and shooting things, but there are some frames that are very out of the meta, and it just kind of feels weird. You play the frames like Hydroid, for example, and you go, this is from a different age, you know, this is when the game was very different to what it is now. It's now very focused on speed, on clear speed. So slower crowd control frames that don't do a lot of damage are kind of like super out of the meta and they're just sort of weird to play. Now, I know some of you are really like, you're like diehard Hydroid fans and I love it. And I would love to get into a call with you at some time and have you coach me on how to play Hydroid because I love the frame. And you know what? My buddy Stevens was playing it for the first time the other night. He was pogging out of his gourd playing Hydroid. It was great to see. He's a really fun concept, but really doesn't do much damage, and it's kind of hard to find a place for him. The gameplay is so good. There's just a handful of frames that are just like, you're a bit old, buddy. You could use a rework to spruce you up and make you a little more relevant to how the game is currently right now. But other than that, like, it's great. I love playing Warframe. It's just so good moment to moment. I feel like a badass. All right, let's talk about progression. And this is actually one of my favorite things about Warframe. So I see Warframe less of a looter shooter like Destiny and a little more like a traditional action RPG, the likes of Diablo or something like that. And once I started seeing it more like a Diablo style game, it actually clicked for me. And that's when I'm like, yo, okay, I really like this. But the loot, oddly enough, doesn't work anything like an action RPG. I'm not really familiar with Destiny, so I can't really comment on that. But the loot is not random, it's not variable. When you get a mod, everyone gets the exact same mod. When you get a sword, everyone gets the exact same sword. All the frames are the same, except for the prime frames, but then all the prime frames are the same. There's no variability in the loot. You know what you're gonna get. You can plan out your builds, you can plan out your playstyle. You can go, I want to play Nidus, and these mods are good for Nidus, and that weapon is good for Nidus, you know what I mean? And then it's just a matter of doing the right missions, playing the right content to get the blueprints for all the things you want to build, and then getting the resources to actually build those blueprints. So there is RNG in this, of course. There is random elements in whether or not you get the blueprint or not, but at the very least, you can target your efforts. It's not just a matter of, hey, I'll play whatever and hope I get what I want. It's, I will play this mission because I know this mission gives me the blueprint that I want. And I will play this selection of missions because this is where I will get the resources to build the blueprint that I want. So yes, there is grinding. There absolutely is grinding, but at least you know what you're getting into. You're doing specific missions to get specific things. You're in control, or at least the game makes you feel like you're in control of your progression. And that feeling of control over my progression is something I actually really enjoy. And similar to my previous point in gameplay, there's always something to do. There's always something to work towards, which I friggin' love. I never log into Warframe and go, I don't know what to do. Yeah, maybe like if you're a veteran player, you might get to that point where you don't have really much to do, but where I am right now with 175 hours in the game, I've still got so much to do, and I can do one thing, I can focus on one thing, or I can split my efforts across multiple things. I can do whatever I want in any order, and I love that. I mean, even on the most basic level, you're working on ranking up frames, weapons that then go towards your MR rank, your master rank, which then allows you to unlock the ability to use more weapons. That's like the most basic cycle of progression. Then on top of that, you've got the Kuva Liches, which allow you to get special Kuva weapons, or actually recruit the Liches so that they will sometimes help you, which I haven't done yet, so I haven't experienced that, but I've been told that's how it works. You can build your Railjack, which opens up a whole new progression system and gameplay style that is, like, if you're not expecting it, it'll blow your mind. Like, how is this in a looter shooter game? It's as ridiculous and amazing. You can build your Necromech, which again opens up a new style of gameplay just to spice things up, which I love. I love that there's that variety in here. There's grinding for faction reputation, which unlocks new toys, gadgets, and weapons if you like. And there's a lot of factions. There's factions that I really need to rank up with, and I haven't gone around to it yet. I don't have the time to rank up with all these friggin' factions. There's still so much for me to do just in that. And then on top of that, building up my Railjack and getting my Necromech and doing the Liches, which I really want to do, and completing the star chart, which is just going through each node. And then once you unlock all the nodes in the star chart, then it opens up Steel Path, which is like it's kind of like a new game plus. It's like a hard mode, as far as I understand. And then there's Eidolons. I didn't even think about it. There's Eidolons on top of that, man. There's your operator. There's upgrading your operator. There's this whole system with the operator. I'll be honest, I barely touched the operator, but there's this whole thing in there. There's just always something to be working towards, and it feels good. This game, Warframe, it's a dopamine dispensing machine. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not all sunshines and rainbows. There are elements of progression that I don't really enjoy, and I don't agree with how they're structured. There are a couple of content islands. Now, what I mean by that is you want to get this thing, but in order to get this thing, you need to already have this thing. What I'm talking about specifically is Eidolons and upgrading your operator's amp. So apparently, in order to upgrade the amp, you need resources from Eidolons. But in order to complete Eidolon fights effectively, you need to have an upgraded amp. It's this circular thing where apparently you're meant to be carried through by veteran players the first few times until you can actually handle the fight on your own. And I don't mean on your own solo, I mean on your own even with people just of your level. I'm told this is intended. Now, there is another way to go about it, but it's a lot slower. I don't mind that. I really don't mind that at all, because I fully understand the progression system where this will take you a while to complete, and then once you have completed it, your reward is being able to do this a lot easier. If that's the case, absolutely. But I keep getting told that that is not intended, that the intended gameplay loop there is being carried through by higher level players. Okay, I've accepted this, but I don't agree with it for two reasons. I don't like content islands because functionally, there is no issue because I have you guys to help me with that. So that's great. But what if I didn't have you guys? What if I was a brand new player who wasn't making videos and didn't have a community to help me? Let's say I didn't even have any friends to play with me. How would I do that? That's kind of not great. And let's say that then you do manage to find some higher level players to help you through that content. Like what I've experienced in my streams, when I get carried through content, I end up not fully appreciating the content we've played, and also I don't understand it. It's only once I've played it on my own that I fully appreciate, firstly, what I need to do, and secondly, that it is actually like fun, you know? This happened with Railjacks. The first time I experienced Railjacks was with much high level players, with you guys in the stream. And I'm like, this is cool because I love spaceships, but I don't really get it because I'm not doing anything. I'm just there along for the ride. But once I got my own Railjack and I actually went out on some missions with my buddies Kluger and Stevens, who also play the game, and it was just the three of us and no high-level players were helping us along, I fully appreciated what was involved in Railjack missions, and now they are honestly one of my favorite aspects of the game. I love playing Railjack missions. They're so engaging. It's a really nice, fresh change of pace from the regular Warframe gameplay. It's so good, and I can't wait to upgrade my Railjack and play more Railjack missions. So I really dearly wish there weren't any content islands in the game, but it seems that there is, and for the moment we've got to deal with that. But honestly, that's the only thing that really bothers me about Warframe, and it's just such a tiny part of it. The only reason it's come up is because we've gotten to the point in my progression where a lot of you were like, hey yo, we really want to see you do Eidolons, and I'm like, ah. But honestly, every other part of the progression, I love that it makes you feel like you're in control, and I love that there's always something to work towards. Okay, let's talk about story. I think this is going to be a really interesting subject to you guys because a lot of my YouTube content has been following along with the story. You like seeing those new player reaction videos, and that's really cool. That actually really surprised me. My instinct would be that you wouldn't want to see just some new guy who doesn't know what he's doing following along with the story. That doesn't sound engaging to me, but to the Warframe community, it's like the bee's knees, and that on its own I found really interesting. The story is fantastic. It's intriguing and weird and unique. I love weird sci-fi. Sci-fi that, it's not just that it doesn't follow tropes, sci-fi that you look at it and you go, ooh, that's alien, you know, but it's not alien. This is our solar system. We're talking about humans, we're talking about Earth, it's Venus, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, you know, it's all the favorites. It's that concept that we're so far into the future that things start to look alien, and I really like that. You have a similar setting in EVE Online, you know, it's the year 10,000 plus or something like that, or like really far into the future. And Dune, I've recently finished reading the first Dune book and I loved it. It's like one of my favorite books now, and that is the same. It's like the year 10,000 something, and that's really cool because it sort of regresses a little bit. It goes back to like almost this feudal or medieval, like great houses with an emperor kind of system, but it's also got weird future things that wouldn't fit in that context, in that ancient context, unless you were dealing with magic. It's almost like sci-fi magic, and that's what you have here as well. And I really like that concept because it allows the writers to open up and try weird things, wacky things, just new ideas. If it's set 200 years in the future, you're kind of stuck within what is reasonable in terms of technological advancement and even societal advancement, you know, but this is so far in the future. As far as I'm aware, we don't know when it's set. I think the safe bet is that it's really far in the future, and as such, things are weird. And I really like that. I really love the main factions as well. The Grineer is like so adorably pathetic. I simultaneously enjoy mowing them down, and I also want to protect them and coddle them. They're kind of cute. I don't know. It's like this weird primal part of me that wants to protect and mollycoddle Grineer. I don't know. The Corpus are interesting in that they are like this super corporate organization that's become like their own state or something. It's very cyberpunk, and that's right up my alley. And then there's the Orokin, who are the perfect specimens of humanity, like Greek gods or the Roman Empire or something, you know? It's all very opulent and indulgent, and there's gilding nonsense everywhere, and they're all snobby and trying to subjugate everyone around them. It's very interesting. And then the Sentients, who slide in and try and mess it all up, and they're the biggest mystery, right? We don't really know what's going on with them. Like, we do, but like not really. Like, we know where they're from, what they are, but like what's going on now? What's all this nonsense with the Hunhao and like it's very intriguing. And on top of all that, I love that the story is not shoved down your throat. It actually feels kind of Dark Soulsy in how the story is delivered. It's partially through fragments that you actually need to find out in missions. Yes, there are story missions, and those are great. They're actually really good, and some of them are super emotional. And I almost teared up with some of them. They're incredible. Some of the writing in those missions is great. My only complaint is that I kind of wish the story missions were laid out in a little bit more of an obvious chronological order. I have you guys to help me, to tell me what to play next, but even then, some of the missions that I should have played earlier, I played a little bit too late, and I think I've missed some minor missions, so I don't know who key characters are, and then I play the mission pertaining to them, and I'm like, what? So, as a new player that doesn't have the guidance of a community behind them, I think it would be really helpful to just have a simple play this mission next. Like just a linear scale of this is a chronology, you start here, you finish here, play the missions in that order, so that if you want to receive the story, at least you get it in the appropriate order. That being said, if you don't care about the story at all, which interestingly enough, contrary to what I would expect, it seems that the Warframe community largely is super into the story, which I love to see. That is great. Everyone seems to be a big lore fiend, and that's fantastic. But if you just want to play Warframe without paying attention to the story, yeah, you have to play some story missions to unlock certain gameplay elements. But, I mean, you can just, like, rush through them and not pay attention if you really want. I would advise you not to do that. Do pay attention to the story, because it's actually really, really good. And if you enjoy, like, piecing things together and, like, hang on, who's that and who's this? It's like Game of Thrones or Days of Our Lives in the super future. It's freaking fantastic. If you enjoy piecing that together, creating a big board with red string to connect everything, this story is really going to appeal to you, and just the way it appeals to me, I love it. I can't wait to get a little more progression under my belt and then just pour over the wiki and immerse myself in the lore so that I can fully appreciate who everyone is in anticipation for the new update coming out. And then I'm just like, I'm on the same level as you guys, and I'm right there with you, just appreciating the story for what it is. Okay, let's talk about the community of Warframe. Now, you may have noticed with all the subcategories up to this point, I've had like 2 major good points that I really like, and then 1 little gripe. With community, there is no gripe. This is honestly, I'm not just sucking up, I swear. This is honestly the best gaming community I've ever experienced in my entire 30 years of living. I've never come across a friendlier, more helpful, or more passionate community in any game. I mean, you look at my videos, and I swear I'm not tuning my own horn here. Look at my videos and have a look at the like to dislike ratio. There's so few dislikes. Some videos with thousands of views have no dislikes. Warframe videos. That's unheard of. That's insane. I do not believe that is because I'm just such a charming individual. That's not the reason. It's because the Warframe community is just so immensely positive and so welcoming of new players that they don't, like, what are they going to dislike, you know? They see a new tenno, they see a new player, and it's just like, this is great. This guy likes what we like, and we want to teach him why we like this thing. That's the impression I get, and I friggin' love it, guys. I honestly do. I am so grateful for the community of Warframe, not just for watching the videos and bumping my channel up, because I was like stuck on, 18,000 for, I think, a couple years. And we bumped up to 21,000. My goal for 2021 was to get 20,000 by the end of the year. And we exceeded that. And that was great. It's not just for the YouTube growth, guys. I'm grateful for the Warframe community because of how welcoming and positive they've been. I go to the Discord, and it's just the Warframe chat in the Discord is constantly going. It's constantly scrolling, and I can bounce in there at any time and be like, hey, yo, guys, I did this. And it's like, yo, that's great. Or can I have some help with this? What do you think of this? What should I do here? And I can get an answer because you make me speak Grenier. That's what it boils down to here. The Warframe community makes me speak Grenier because I have no words. So I keep hearing that the end game of Warframe, once you've done everything, all of that content that I talked about that seems endless, once you've done it all, the end game is helping new players. And I friggin' love that. I've heard that so often that, like, it must be a thing. It's not just one guy who's like, hey, I want to be a helpful dude and I want to help new players. It's like a thing in the community. The end game is to help new players. Where have you seen that before in a gaming community? That's incredible. I don't know why the Warframe community is like this, but I love that it is. I mean, when I started making Warframe videos, I was just getting endless GIFs, which is just like, that just warms my heart. It makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable, I gotta be honest. But it was just so, like, it was so incredible that you guys wanted to gift me frames and whatnot. I did eventually end up turning off GIFs for the sake of, firstly, feeling bad. Like, I want you guys to get things for yourself, you know? If you've got premium currency to spend, I want you to spend it on yourself and enjoy it yourself, even though I very much do appreciate that you're spending it on me. And the second reason is just so that I could preserve my own progression experience, so that I could actually grind up some frames myself and not get spoiled and not get carried through content. Like, as I already mentioned, I don't really enjoy being carried through content. I want to experience it for myself and then bring you guys in on stream and we can play together. But just the fact that overwhelmingly you guys were willing to just send the new player stuff. Like, you don't know me. I've made a couple of videos. That's it. Like, you don't know me beyond that, but you're just sending me stuff. That's incredible. It's such a generous, friendly, welcoming community, and I'm proud and glad to be a part of it. But before we move on, a short message from our sponsor. 2021 is the year of hygiene, so I went back to the future to visit John and Matt at TechFunk and brought back some heckin' rad soap. Meet the Squad, Conforminator, Foam Chomsky, Imposter Syndrome, Spectrum, Black Swan, and Dover Clean.
Hana, da, bain, hook.
It's all natural, handmade, so it feels nice and rugged in your hand. Some soaps give me dry, flaky skin on my palms, but TechFunk does not. I gotta say, they felt really good to use. And they smell great too. They don't have that traditional soapy aroma to them. Check out the Shower Team 6 bundle. That's all 6 flavors for 15% off and free shipping. Or build your own bundle and still get the 15% off. I gotta say, working with John from TechFunk was a great experience as well. I found out he's a big fan of X4 and MechWarrior, so, you know, kindred spirits. I do highly recommend TechFunk. Go to techfunk.com/discount/retro or enter retro at checkout for 20% off your order. Put a little fun into your soap and hack your hygiene. And with that, we come to the end of an era. 175 hours in Warframe, MR11, 15 frames, 21 in total if you include the GIFs. I don't think I can call myself a new player anymore. But the real question is, am I going to keep playing Warframe? What are you talking about? Of course I'm going to keep playing Warframe. Not only is the community just so amazing to be a part of, but the game is so incredibly fun. The fact that it's free to play is incredible. Yeah, at some point you probably will need to spend money on it, and I don't mind that. I've talked about this before. Games that are front-loaded, that give you the goods straight up, and then are like, hey, yo, maybe you want to drop a couple of coins. I'm totally cool with that. I did that with Path of Exile. You know, Path of Exile is totally free, but I wanted a little more inventory space, stash space, and I thought, I've gotten like 500 hours out of this game. Like, what's $30 for a little more stash space? So I felt very good about spending money on that game. And the same rings true for Warframe. I feel great about spending money on Warframe for the things that I want, because the game gives you so much for free, and it's just fun. You know, I play with my friends every week. We've been doing so since the beginning of my Warframe career and making videos and doing the streams. We've been playing every week, and my friends are as hooked as I am. I mean, Stevens in particular, he's always messaging us in the group chat about how he stayed up too late playing Warframe, grinding for this thing that he wanted, and it's great. You know, when we convene every week, we've actually got a shopping list of things to do. It's like, you know, Stevens wants to do this, Kluger wants to do that, I need to do this to make a video, you know. I just have so much fun playing this game and making the videos. You know, I'll be honest, some games I play, I really enjoy making videos, but I don't play the game much outside of making videos. Warframe? Nah. Every couple of days, I'm like, I haven't played Warframe, you know, I need to play some Warframe because I enjoy the progression, and I enjoy the gameplay, and it's just good, clean, simple, easy fun, often relaxing. And that's something I really value these days, because I got a lot on my plate and not a lot of time to relax, so it's really nice to like put on some tunes or watch a YouTube video and bust through some missions on Warframe, even if it's just running through what I can do on my own in Nightwave or something, or I'm ranking up a new frame. It's just good, man. I love Warframe. It is honestly now one of my favorite games of all time, and I'm so glad I gave it a chance. I'm so glad I started making videos, and I'm so glad it has such a fantastic community that welcomed me with open arms. Alright guys, I've prattled on for long enough. This is a great game. It's a fantastic community. 175 hours. I look forward to the next 175 hours. But for the moment, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to gently caress that like button and let me know in the comments what you love so much about Warframe. I'll see you next time, guys. Ricky Summer, out.